In the opening scene, Diana, an all-girls school director of music, walks out of the car and greets a few parents who have come to drop off their kids at school. She finds Jessica, the principal, trying to hang a mistletoe on her front door, and it seems she's basking quite well in the euphoria of the Christmas spirit. She asks about the merger of the two music programs coming up and wonders why the principal is so focused on her decorations. There was a recent merger between their all-girls school with an all-boys school into a co-ed school, which resulted in Caston Cresswell Academy. Jessica quits trying to reach the hook and suggests that Diana help her since she's taller. She reveals that she intends to do as her therapist had told her, so she's going to keep her mind away from the merger and focus more on something less stressful like Christmas. Diana assists her in hanging the mistletoe effortlessly. Even though Jessica doesn't want to burden herself, she can't help but worry about the many issues that will arise from merging an all-girls and boys school for a music program. She walks over to the window and sees a young girl and boy fondling each other. She yells at them, pointing out that such a scenario is one of the things she worries about. She feels she has to ensure that the boys and girls observe proper behavior, and so many other complaints she's worried may arise from boys and girls coexisting in the same school environment. Diana nods her head, seeing that she can't stop Jessica from thinking in the direction she has chosen. She feels quite stressed out listening to all the explanations, so she quickly picks her bag and informs her that she needs to go set up for class. Diana enters her class to meet her girls already seated. She begins her music lectures for the day, and all seems to be going smoothly until the deafening sound of drums and other instruments starts disturbing their lectures. She's certain it's from the boys' class, but she tries to see the possibility of ignoring the noise. However, her students are heavily distracted by the loud sound. She can no longer endure the noise, so she excuses herself to go speak to the boys' music teacher, Ken. He refuses to end the class, despite seeing her struggling to see him for a minute. She suddenly shouts, and he quiets down his students. Diana speaks with Ken to stop encouraging his students to make noise in their class, as she's also having a class next door, but he insists that he can't make music without a beat. He corrects her that they are learning how to make rhythm and not make noise. The teacher excuses himself to go join his class, as he is not pleased with her. They do not see eye to eye. Getting to her class, she finds her students whispering amongst themselves in low tunes, and in no time, the music coming from the boys' class resumes. Diana scoffs as she believes Ken doesn't want to be reasonable. The next thing she does is to report him. She lays her complaints to the principal, Jessica. The principal listens to both teachers talking over each other, arguing their different modes of teaching music. Diana argues teaching music from her textbook, while the other teacher insists on being practical in his class. Jessica suddenly yells at them to keep their voices down. She informs them that they should count themselves lucky, because the school is under budgetary pressure. Usually, the first arm they'll trim down is the art department, so instead of bantering about the best way to teach, they should make themselves useful by sourcing means to get public support and protect the program. She suggests they get the alumni and the parents to protect and keep the program alive. They need a certain kind of exposure, like a Christmas contest. Jessica informs them that they should register for a Christmas contest. However, they can make only one entry, so she suggests they merge the program, but the board would have to choose one music director. Ken and Diana accept to participate, but then they will have to compete amongst themselves, so they can select the best music director amongst them. Diana and Ken decide to make some inquiries from a representative who is anchoring the TV network that will be in charge of the program. They discover that there will be some judges and a prize to be won. The duo informs them that they will be signing up for the program. Both teachers immediately start rehearsing with their students, but the results are not so encouraging. Diana is sitting in the school cafeteria evaluating her girls' results when one of the teachers, Jill Hammond, walks over to discuss with her. She suggests that Diana consider one of the students by the name Liz Straight, because she's the life of the party and has the potential to represent the school well. Diana gives her colleague's idea some thought, as Liz has a really good voice, even though she's untrained. The duo deliberate on the matter, and even think of including another student named Amy Barnes, who seems like the reserved type. But Diana doesn't have the time to bring Amy out of her shell because there is a lot on her plate, and she has a job to keep. Ken and a colleague of his are also deliberating on the students they need on their team. He considers Billy Warren, who looks promising, but the kid misbehaves a lot because his parents are loaded. Another option worth considering is the new kid in their class, Carlo. Carlo is in a wheelchair, and he may have had a hard time fitting in, but the kid is really smart. Ken thinks that the contest might just help break the ice. At the end of the day's class, Diana calls on Amy to know why she didn't audition with the rest of her mates, and the young lady reveals that she's simply uncomfortable singing in front of a crowd of people. Diana informs Amy that Miss Hammond has testified of how good her voice sounds, and she urges her to sing for her so she can decide if her voice is truly great or not. Amy is worried that everyone will hear her singing, as there are students around the vicinity. Diana pulls her into the class and encourages her to pretend she's singing to a baby, and she's willing to turn around if it will make her feel any better. Amy puts herself together and starts singing the moment Diana turns around. Meanwhile, Diana listens to her smiling and feeling very impressed with the young lady. At the end of Amy's little audition, Diana confesses that she wants her in the contest. She understands that Amy doesn't want to sing in front of people, but she's willing to help her rehearse and be ready to be on stage. She encourages her to give it a try, as it could be a really good experience for her. Diana agrees to let her take her time to make a decision and get back to her later in the day. Before she leaves, she calls Amy back to confess that she would like her to know that no matter the decision she makes, she is very, very good. The girl smiles beautifully and thanks her teacher for the compliment before running off. The next day during lunchtime, Jill sits by Diana looking all cute. Diana asks her to spill because she's sure that her friend wants to make a request. Jill smiles and requests for Diana to substitute as a chaperone for her at the winter formal on Saturday. She had agreed to do it before, but out of nowhere, Scott, her husband, proposes a big romantic weekend in the mountains. She promises to make it up to her if she will be given a chance to help her out. Fortunately, Diana agrees to help out as she doesn't have much to do during the weekend. Jill hugs her friend excitedly and promises to make it up to her unfailingly. Saturday arrives and Diana is surprised to find out that she will be watching over the parking lot with Ken. She informs him that she's a last-minute replacement for Jill. They soon start getting along, chatting about the ongoing school event. Jessica sees them and is happy to see that they are finally getting along with each other. The duo continues chatting about the cars parked outside, which leads to Ken revealing that his stepdad used to be an undertaker. He shares more about their family car, which his dad used back then. Ken spots two students in a vehicle. He walks over and chases them to the hall before continuing his conversation with Diana. They spend most of the evening talking about their personal lives and their take on the path of music they chose. They seem to have different ideologies about art. Diana brings up the competition ahead of them and assures him that she'll beat him in the contest. He laughs and wishes her luck in doing that. He believes her imagination can only be possible if the judges bring the pass mark to 80%. On Monday, Diana and Amy are in the empty classroom. They are talking about Amy's parents, who are not fans of Christmas celebrations, when Liz walks in questioning who doesn't celebrate Christmas. Diana introduces the ladies to each other and Liz, as usual, takes over the conversation by informing Amy that she's excited that she'll get to be on TV. It's her first time though. She has been on YouTube because her video was uploaded by someone, and she only realized it a few weeks later. Diana interrupts the conversation by handing both of them a song she picked out. She wants them to work on the song at home, but Liz doesn't seem to like the song. She thinks it's lame and old-fashioned because her mother always sings it in church. However, Amy has a different opinion, and she believes that the song has a really basic melody that they can embellish. Amy offers to help Liz with the arrangement if it's too complicated for her, but Liz turns her down. As soon as Liz walks away, Diana encourages Amy to work on her part and not pay attention to Liz's behavior. At least Amy can be a good example. On her way out after the day's work, Jessica spots her leaving and calls her back. The principal requests to know if she has plans for Saturday night, as she would like Diana to join her for the Christmas dinner practice. She apologizes for the late invitation, but she hopes that Diana will join her. Jessica hands her the invitation card and explains more details about the rehearsal. She further reveals that her nephew, who just got out of a relationship, will be coming, and she intends to introduce them. She believes they will hit it off on the right note. Diana smiles, seeing that there's no going back for her. She accepts the invite and promises to be there. On Saturday, Diana arrives on time and rehearses how she will make her introduction while waiting for someone to let her into the house. Jessica soon comes to open the door, revealing that her nephew won't be able to join them because his car broke down, so she invited someone else from the school to join them. Diana hands her the bottle of Pinot she got and follows behind her as she leads the way inside. Surprisingly, she meets Ken inside. After the dinner, Diana requests to go get some fresh air outside, and Jessica suggests Ken go with her so they can help her decorate her backyard. He agrees to help her do that, so she quickly brings out the box containing some Christmas lights for them. She encourages them to forget about school for the weekend and just have fun while helping her out. In the middle of the decorations, Ken confesses he's glad they get to meet each other again as he wants to apologize for the argument they had at the parking lot. They call a truce and spend the remaining time chatting about other things until Diana starts catching a cold. Ken gives her his coat to help keep her body warm. They spend the rest of their time together chatting and working together. Jessica joins them, vocalizing a sound, and the duo burst out laughing at the way she sounds. The next day at school, Billy joins Ken for their rehearsal, and Ken introduces Carlo to him. He informs them that they will be working together for the contest. Billy asks for permission to go join his wrestling team, as he's the captain now and needs to show up for rehearsals. At Diana's class, she's playing the piano while her girls sing to the melody. She corrects them at some points to ensure they are working in harmony, even though it's just a simple rehearsal. Liz suggests they make bodily gestures while staging the song. She starts making bodily movements and singing with the hopes that Diana will buy her idea because she thinks the camera will love it, and she needs to use every trick in the book to win. Amy interrupts Liz's moves because she can't act out all the drama she is suggesting. Diana reminds Liz that it's a Christmas contest, so they need to just rehearse according to the beat and leave those moves aside. She urges them to go over the song one more time. Later in the day, while Diana is walking around Jessica's office, she gets called inside and meets Ken there already. Jessica reveals that an alumni of their school will be a judge at the contest. She excitedly reveals that Estelle Barlow owns the TV station. Therefore, things will go in their favor. Further discussions with Jessica reveal that Estelle is not really into music, even though she'll be attending the contest as a judge. Jessica urges them to make all necessary preparations, as Estelle will be especially paying attention to both of them. Later, Billy returns to class a bit late for the rehearsals, and Ken isn't pleased with him. He reminds him that the contest is only in a few weeks. He hands them the notes he had scribbled down for the song they will be singing. Billy laughs, mockingly, seeing that they will be singing an old and boring song that everyone already knows. Carlo suggests they give it a try, and also suggests some ideas on how they can sing the song to make it more interesting. Ken loves Carlo's ideas, so he picks up the guitar so they can start working on the song already. He likes that they are trying, but he calls their attention to harmony as Billy is faster than Carlos. He reminds them that they will be doing a duet, so they need to sing in sync. While they are rehearsing, Diana is packing up for the day when Amy's mother walks into her classroom. Amy's mom reveals that she just became aware of the contest earlier today, and she doesn't like that her permission wasn't sought before casting her daughter in the contest. She informs Diana that she wouldn't want Amy to compete in the music contest. Mrs. Barnes lists out several things she thinks will stress her daughter about the competition. She refuses to listen to Diana's opinion because she feels she and her husband have put a lot of energy into teaching their daughter the true value of Christmas, which has turned into commercialism and consumerism in recent times. Mrs. Barnes raises her voice as she complains about Diana's intention of putting her daughter up on the TV station to sing like some kind of trick animal. She believes that's consumerism, which her values frown against. Diana tries to convince the woman that singing has brought out the life in Amy as she has come out of her shell, unlike how she used to be. Mrs. Barnes promises to pull her daughter out if she perceives any sort of stress or anything Amy might find difficult to handle. Diana thanks her for consenting at least. The following day, Diana shares with Jill her encounter with Mrs. Barnes the previous evening. She thinks Mrs. Barnes is trying to protect her daughter, not knowing that she might end up hurting her more. She senses a difference in Jill's responses and urges her friend to spill. Jill admits that she's surprised to hear her talk about Mrs. Barnes that way when she's also scared of meeting someone new after her ex-husband Dave. Jill reminds her that it's been 4 years already, and she'll be spending another Christmas alone. Diana tries to explain her reasons for not getting involved with men, but Jill informs her that she can use the internet to get a match with amazing men via online dating platforms. She encourages Diana to at least go for dinner with some of the men, and if there's no spark, she can always start over. Amy walks by and sees Liz, who pulls her back, informing her that she has a major tweet to send. Liz just found out that their teacher might lose her job if they lose the contest. Amy thinks it's unfair as she worries about Ken, who also faces the chance of losing his job as well. In the boys' locker room, Carlo shows Billy the tweet Liz just posted. They spend some time talking about the contest so their teacher doesn't get axed. Billy gets an idea, but refuses to share it just yet, as he bids Carlos goodbye. The next day, during work hours in the morning, Diana informs Jill that she has taken her advice about the dating site thingy, and she has been matched already. Jill is excited for her friend, especially since the date will be a day after the next day. She has a great feeling about Diana's date, and she just can't wait to hear all about it. 2 days later, Diana arrives at the venue of her date, and it turns out that Ken is her date. She turns around to leave, but he convinces her to stay. They talk about classical music, and before long, the conversation is beginning to sound like a debate. Diana believes it's time she ends the conversation, so she gets up and bids him a lovely night, bringing their short date to an end. Ken gets back to meet his friend Gary, who advised him to try the dating site in the first place. He shares his experience with his date and how it ended before it even started. He intends to give up already, but Gary motivates him not to give up because life is complicated. He offers to help his friend find someone different from the person he met tonight. At school, the following day, Diana also informs Jill about her date the previous night. She complains about Ken's views, but instead of discouraging her, Jill advises her to keep on trying rather than quit because it's not working out. Ken arrives at school that morning and sees his students soliciting votes from their fellow students. This impresses him, so he commends their efforts before walking away. Liz sees what the boys are up to, and she walks away briskly in irritation. Liz then takes Amy for some photo shoots as she intends to outdo the guys. She applies some makeup on Amy's face, and in no time their photo is ready for their campaigns. She works hard to ensure that their flyers are all over the school. Billy sees one of Liz's flyers, and he suddenly feels threatened. So he asks his guys to take down the towels they put up in an attempt to solicit votes, as it is nothing compared to the glamour photos Liz pasted. Liz takes her campaigns to the next level as she sets up a table to share cards with other students. Ken walks by and sees how serious everything is becoming. He almost bumps into Diana, who is stepping out of her class. They apologize to each other and continue on their paths. Inside the class, Diana addresses her students about the forthcoming contest when the loud sounds coming from Ken's class disturb her classroom. In a bid to get back at Ken, she decides to give him some real noise if that's what he wants. She walks over to the player and inserts a music disc by Tchaikovsky to commemorate the defeated Napoleon when he invaded Russia. She tells her students to come on stage as she increases the volume to the highest. Jessica walks out of her office as the conflicting sounds become unbearable. She turns down the music and requests that Ken and Diana follow her. Inside her office, she reprimands both teachers for being more immature than their students. The duo accepts their faults in the role they played, and they promise to do better. Jessica advises them to be at their best and hopes the contest is over in a few days. A few days later, Diana and Ken decide to try the dating site again, hoping they get to meet a perfect stranger. Ken walks into the venue where he is supposed to meet his date. He taps the lady he suspects to be her. Unfortunately, it turns out to be Diana again. They rant at each other until they realize that they both filled in the exact opposite on the questionnaires, which resulted in them being matched one more time. They finally calm down and Ken blames it on the computer for messing up. He suggests they just eat since he's starving. Diana insists she will pay half the bills as she knows what teachers make as their salaries. In the course of their discussions, Ken shares some details about his biological father who passed away when he was 17. The man was more of a legend than a father and Ken had tried hating him for years, but he couldn't because he misses his dad. Ken's story is emotional and Diana gets prompted to share how she was once married to her high school sweetheart, who she later caught cheating on her during a Christmas Eve party. She is quite certain that her story is more pathetic than Ken's. They look into each other's eyes as they share their pathetic experiences. Unknown to them, there's a waiter in the restaurant who has been watching them. The young lad picks up his phone and puts a call through to Billy. After their date, Diana gets back home and decides to clean up the refrigerator by which she caught her ex-husband cheating on her. After speaking about the incident today, she has summoned up some courage to finally clean the fridge after years of abandoning it. Ken also decides to listen to his father's album after years of ignoring it. The next day at school, they find out someone tweeted a post of Ken and Diana staring into each other's eyes lovingly. And now their students, especially Liz and Amy, are going nuts about the tweet. Liz informs Amy of the recent happening. Amy is worried as she wouldn't want her teacher to get fired. The girls discuss what to do next while Carlo and Billy also talk about the situation in their classroom. On their way out, Diana walks into the class to see Ken. She thanks him for the previous night. They have a brief discussion, and she assures him that no matter what happens after the contest, it's just a job, and she would like to see him some other time. Ken smiles as he has the same thought. He invites her to come to listen to some old songs with him, and they agree to do that after the contest is over. During lunch hour, Carlo meets up with Amy in a secluded place where she's having her lunch. He requests to sit with her, and soon commends her great voice. He has heard her singing before, and he thinks she's amazing. They soon start talking about the contests and their partners, and to their amazement, their partners are almost alike in character. Carlo toasts to 4 more days before the concert. Billy gets desperate to win, and he acts mischievously by draining Liz's fuel from her vehicle and fixing a device that will disrupt her phone's reception underneath her car just before she comes out to the parking lot. The unsuspecting Liz gets in the vehicle with Amy and drives off to the rehearsal venue. At the studio, the organizer is getting pissed because Liz and Amy are yet to show up. Diana tries her best to calm him down, but unfortunately, Liz's number isn't going through, and she has to leave a message for her. The girls get stuck halfway, and Liz is worried sick, especially since she can't get any reception on her phone. Amy suggests they get a ride that will take them to the TV station. Meanwhile, Diana is super tensed up already as she chews her nails. The organizer informs her that her team will be disqualified. She tries one more time, and she finally reaches her. Diana explains the situation of her girls, hoping they will be given another chance, but her requests get turned down. Later, Billy confesses to Carlo what he did to Liz's car. Carlo is pissed after hearing this, and he suggests they reveal the truth to Ken, but Billy refuses. He suggests they play a game in which Carlo sets the conditions. At the end of the game, Carlo wins, so he gives his phone to Billy so he can call the station and confess the truth. Minutes later, Diana meets with Ken at the TV station, and in no time Estelle Ballo joins them. Estelle shares the revelation Billy made. She comes up with a trickery idea that none of the students can mess with. That way she intends to get her assessment done without any manipulation from either of the students. Estelle reveals that she will give the girls a chance to perform, and instead of disqualifying the boys, she will give them a 5-point disadvantage. She wishes the excited teacher the best of luck before dismissing them. Ken runs after Diana to apologize for Billy's undoing, but she walks away fast. At the Barnes home, Amy gets into a small disagreement with her mother, who doesn't want her to participate after she has been given another chance. She convinces her mother to see reasons why she needs to participate in the contest until she finally agrees. The day of the contest finally arrives, and the teachers from each school prepare their teams to go do what they've been rehearsing for. Billy apologizes to Ken for his mischievousness. The excited teacher and parents applaud as the host mounts the mic to address everyone. Amy puts a call through to Diana from backstage where she is. She and Liz are quite worried that Diana would blame Ken for Billy's action, so she informs her teacher that Ken offered them a ride the day the incident happened, and she's quite certain he wouldn't have if he knew that they would run out of fuel. Diana realizes that she has been wrong about Ken all along and appreciates Amy for the information. Then she turns to face Ken, who is sitting beside her. She tries to speak with him, but the event has started, and the noise is interrupting her. Behind the stage, their students team up intending to help their teachers, who are in love, realize that they are in love. They come up with an idea, and Amy quickly grabs a paper to scribble some things down. Estelle gets on stage to tell the audience about a revelation she just found out. She talks about how 2 schools with different ideologies of music were merged, and both schools enrolled in the contest. However, she just learned that the 2 representatives of these schools decided to merge at the last minute, so the final contestant is the double duo of Caston Cresswell Academy. The audience begins to cheer loudly as they welcome the 2 teams. Their duet turns out amazing, causing the audience to feel emotional. Mrs. Barnes sheds tears of joy watching her daughter singing so confidently like she has never seen before. Ken decides to set the crowd on fire as he picks up a saxophone and joins the students upstage. At the end of their amazing performance, Estelle announces Caston Cresswell as the winner of the contest. The audience applauds, and Mrs. Barnes cheers her daughter on from where she's sitting. Jessica stops Diana and Ken on their way out. She commends their efforts and informs them that as a result of the contest, they will be able to fund the school music program for at least 1 more year. They continue on their way, and Billy runs to whisper something to Diana, after which he runs off. Diana hands Ken his father's musical disc and wishes him a Merry Christmas. Ken is surprised but grateful and apologizes for not getting her anything. She assures him that his dad would have been proud of him. He asks about her plans for Christmas, and the emotions between them get quite tense until it ends with both of them kissing each other, while their student who has been spying on them blushes at their newfound love.